The Miami Dolphins and Pittsburgh Steelers just pulled off a blockbuster deal. Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith have both been traded in the same package to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We will discuss it all and what's returning, including a familiar face for the Miami Dolphins and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And as always, let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score.
Field down the near side, that open. Touchdown!
The run from Tagovailoa.
Touchdown.
He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan.
Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. And guess what? Put away your Jalen Ramsey jerseys and bust out your Minkah Fitzpatrick jerseys as we finally have resolution to something we've been waiting for, and that is the Jalen Ramsey saga. We finally have an answer. We finally know where he's going. I'll tell you what happened to me. Basically, I was on the phone with the homie Alpha Artiega from 3 yards per carry, and we're talking. In the middle of it, he's like, Jalen Ramsey just tweeted out that he's going to the Steelers. And I said, oh, let me hop on. So I hop on. Shout out to that boy, Pretty Ricky. He messaged me 15 minutes before Ramsey said anything, before Schefter or Rapport said anything. And he hit me up. He said, yo, Ramsey getting moved to the Steelers today. So, wow. Jalen Ramsey has been traded, and we will have full details. As, you know, I did take a few extra minutes to go live here because I wanted to wait to get all the information for you guys as it is starting to really trickle through. And it basically started off about a half hour ago. It started off with this. The Dolphins have finalized a blockbuster trade to send all-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey to Pittsburgh, sources told Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero. And look at this. Ramsey got an adjusted deal. He includes $1.5 million raise in 2025. His salary is $26.6 million this year. Jalen Ramsey just keeps taking money and taking money from anyone who's willing to open up a paycheck right now. Like, it's crazy. Anyone willing to write a paycheck right now, he is taking. I mean, shout out to him, man. Get your money, boo-boo. Why are you going to hate on you? But so the key word in there, though, was blockbuster. And everyone was like, okay, well, blockbuster. Okay, what's the blockbuster trade? Is this going to be like a 5th-round pick? That's the blockbuster? No. Not to be outdone, as the information started trickling through, about 20 minutes later, we had full details. Well, we thought we had full details. As the Steelers, it was announced that Minkah Fitzpatrick is coming back to the Dolphins in exchange for Jalen Ramsey. As you guys will remember, Minkah Fitzpatrick, we drafted him 11th overall. Fantastic safety. I believe the Steelers voted him their defensive MVP last year. All right. Now, the thing with Minkah Fitzpatrick, though, is there is a little bit of a contract you are now eating the other way. right? So, I mean, we'll get into all the contractual details and everything like that. But, I mean, that safety room, replacing Javon Hall with Minkah Fitzpatrick, that is a W in my book. I mean, you definitely upgraded there. 110%. That is an upgrade. Now, at corner, we are what we all thought we would be, and that is a little thin right now, for sure. Now, I do expect them to circle the wagon on Rasul Douglas. I do expect them to check in. We are about to get into July, tomorrow, July 1st, and I expect somewhere in July them to check in on Asante Samuel Jr. I mean, like, this is, man, you know, so here I am thinking, okay, well, this is just a master class if it's a player-for-player swap. I'm like, this is a master class deal. Holy jeez. But no, 10 minutes later, about 13 minutes ago, we get even more details on the trade. We're not done there. Full terms. The Dolphins have agreed to trade Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, as well as a 7th-round pick in 2027 to Pittsburgh in exchange for Minkah Fitzpatrick and a 2027 5th-round pick. So basically, you have to look at it this way. Jalen Ramsey for Minkah, and then Jonnu and a 7th for a 5th-rounder. Now, the thing here is, and I know there's going to be some people that love this trade. There's going to be some people that don't like this trade. Here is the fact of the matter. Jalen Ramsey didn't want to be here anymore. They couldn't come to terms with Jonnu Smith. All right? I told all of y'all they didn't want to break the bank with Jonnu Smith. And the thing is, if you haven't seen, basically, Jonnu then got a whole bunch of money from the Steelers. All right? Jonnu Smith then got, I believe it was I think he got a 1-year deal. He got 1 year added onto his deal from the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right? And I think it's about, I want to look at the number. It's a $12 million. He gets a 1 year, $12 million extension. So that's the other thing. Ramsey got a raise. Jonnu Smith got an $8 million raise. You really think they're about to hand out $12 million a year? I told all of y'all, if Jonnu Smith was going to be reasonable and be in that $8 or $9 million range, they would work. That's why they had been deep in discussions before this trade happened. That's why you heard it die down a little bit. But then when they realized they weren't going to get something done, boom, he's gone. And now the Steelers, I mean, they're not going to give you $12 million. There's just, with the money they're paying Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, you know, if Tyreek Hill wasn't on the roster, maybe they would have been more open to it. I still don't know if I buy them, you know, wanting to give a tight end $12 million. But you got to look at it this way. Were we in a position to say no to that trade? That's the real question. Were we in the position to even say no to that trade? We weren't going to hand Jonnu Smith the money he just got. We weren't going to give Jalen Ramsey a raise. I you know, listen. You look at the name, you plug these names into Madden, and you might think we got fleeced. But when you realize the context of the situation, did we come out with the best result possible? You know, for example, all right, the word on the street is after all this happened is what we already knew. It was down to the Steelers and the Rams. Go look at the Rams. Who were they going to give us in comparison to what we got? Like, Jalen Ramsey is in France right now. He got nothing to do with us. Right? Like, Jonnu Smith, you know, let me just put it this way. It's a lot better than getting nothing. It's a lot better than getting nothing. Now, with Minkah, all right? Minkah is a free agent in 2027. If you remember, he had signed in, I want to say 2022. He signed a 4-year deal, right? And he signed a 4-year, $73.612 million contract, $17.5 million signing bonus, $36 million of it was guaranteed. So, Minkah, he's still under contract for a little bit here. All right, let's get that straight. Now, in terms of new money, because I know some people are going to be, we all know how this goes usually, right? When you look at how much guaranteed he has, the issue right now is there's not much guaranteed money on his, there's nothing in terms of guaranteed money on his contract. For 2025 or 2026. So they're probably going to have to convert some money here. I could see that obviously probably happening. They're definitely probably going to convert some money for him. Hell, they might even extend him. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at his contract right now, he has no guaranteed money in 2025 and 2026. We kind of moved from one guy with no guaranteed money left to another. But I mean, you've got your star safety back. He's 20 and he's 29 years old. You got your guy back that you drafted in 2018 and 11th overall. I love this, man. I love Minkah coming back. I'm here for it. And notice how Xavier Howard's gone. I mean, I've told you guys all the history there with Xavier Howard and Minkah, and how, the one thing I'll always give Flores credit for was he basically, he jumped on that landmine and they took one for the team because they wanted to talk about how Minkah didn't want to move everywhere. And then when he got traded, he started moving everywhere. When really, when you look into it, it was more of an issue with, Xavier Howard and Minkah Fitzpatrick in the locker room and stuff going on. I'm not going to go get into it all because this is a good stream. This is a positive stream. But if you guys remember, I've told that story numerous times. So, man, how can you be mad at this? The fact is, now, if Jonnu Smith had a new deal in place or had guaranteed money in place and was totally happy, okay, I get it. We'd probably be a little less happy. But the fact is, Jonnu, think about this. Jonnu got like a 200% raise. Right? The guy went from making like a little over $4 million a year to now he's making $12 million a year. He got a 200% raise. The Steelers gave Jalen Ramsey a raise. Now, there might be Steeler fans tuning in right now. If you're a Steeler fan tuning in, go check out the film, man. Ramsey last year looked like he lost a step. That's just the fact of the matter. Ramsey looked like he lost a step last year. It was the first year where I really saw him. He was trailing a lot. And now, obviously, falling out with the coach, etc. For a guy who the whole league knew he wanted out, the whole league knew he wasn't a fan of Mike McDaniel. Oh, don't give me this Ramsey bin training. Just watch it. Jakeem Grant would put out all-star, Pro Bowl caliber, all-pro caliber training videos, and how did that work out? I'm telling you, Ramsey has to convert to safety. This was the whole issue with Jalen Ramsey. It started getting brought up to him last year. He wasn't open to it. And the reason why he wasn't open to it is because he wanted that corner money. He wanted to see those corner dollars. That's just where it is. He wanted those safeties make a lot less than a corner. Now that they've given him a raise, I'm sure he'd be a lot more open to moving to safety now that he's got new money. So, listen, I'm not overly... Now, do I want Jonnu Smith to be part of that package? No. If I had my choice, obviously I'd go Jalen Ramsey in a 7th for Minkah in a 5th, but that's not happening. Clearly. So, listen. Jalen didn't look like the same guy he did even the year before. And I'm a fan of Jalen Ramsey. Guy wants to win. I got nothing bad to say about Jalen Ramsey. But the film is the film. And we broke it down last year plenty. Jalen Ramsey was looking like he was starting to lose a step. And I was banging the table that he needed to make the safety move. And it needed to happen real soon. Right? And they approached him about it. He didn't want to do it. And I was over here saying, you got to take the route of Charles Woodson where you're at now. Because Jalen Ramsey can be in. I still believe it. Listen, I'm objective. Pittsburgh Steelers move Jalen Ramsey to safety. He can be an all-pro. I truly believe Jalen Ramsey can be an all-pro safety. 110%. But I think the days of an all-pro corner are behind him. That's where it is. Minkah hasn't done anything for the past 3 years. That's why you guys named him your defensive MVP last year. So, but yeah, I'm good. I'm good on Jalen Ramsey unless he was going to make the conversion to safety, because it wasn't there anymore. As a corner, it's not there. So. Now, I see people in the chat. Do we go after Kyle Pitts? No. You don't go after Kyle Pitts. Right? This team wants to move to more 11 personnel. If you go watch Atlanta last year and you go through on the film in Atlanta, he was coming off the field a lot, especially in run situations, on 11 personnel. And they were predominantly 11 personnel team. You start seeing Kyle Pitts' usage waver. I would go target Michael Mayer in Vegas. Now, I don't know where he's currently at with his... I think he's got some mental health issues going on right now. I don't know what the deal is with Michael Mayer. But you need someone like that. That is what you need. To me, Kyle Pitts is kind of redundant. For what they want to do offensively and what they plan to do offensively, it's kind of redundant. So... Kyle Pitts is like an upgraded, younger version of Jonnu. And why were they not willing to pay Jonnu? Because when you go into those 11 personnel looks, there's a reason why they've been trying to develop Julian Hill. There's a reason why they went out and signed Pharaoh Brown, right? They want to go into more of those 11 personnel looks. And Kyle Pitts does not fit that. At all. So, it doesn't make sense for them to go after Kyle Pitts. It would make sense to go after a guy like Michael Mayer. But it just doesn't make sense for this team to try and acquire a player like Kyle Pitts, especially when he's going to have to get paid. Like, there's a real chance no one trades for a guy like Kyle Pitts and he hits the open market when he's a free agent. Like, that is also a real possibility. Because I just don't see the fit there very much longer in Atlanta. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with Kyle Pitts. I've already talked about this before. It just doesn't make sense. It just does not make sense for me to go. And then you're going to have to give up more assets, right? So... I just don't see them Now, could they surprise us? Sure, 110%. But I don't. If what I'm hearing is true and they want to go to more 11 heavy personnel, it doesn't make sense to go after Kyle Pitts. You know, it just doesn't where I'm at, from where I'm sitting. Rasul Douglas, yes, I expect them to circle back on a corner. They're going to circle back on Rasul, and I expect them to check in on Asante Samuel. Remember, he's supposed to be cleared this month in July. We're 1 day away from July, so my apologies, I said this month, but he's supposed to be cleared in July. I expect them to circle that wagon. I expect them to add another veteran corner. But man, we were kind of already liking this safety room if Melifonwu and Ashton Davis could stay healthy. We got Patrick and Morris coming up behind them, right? You know, they just drafted Dante Trader, who's been doing fantastic stuff in OTAs and rookie minicamp. I'm saying right now, that safety room, all of it, if Melifonwu stays healthy and you add Minkah to that, let's go. That all of a sudden is a very good safety room. That all of a sudden is a very good safety room. Listen, I've been talking about I want Jalen Watson all offseason. I've been talking about how I want Jalen. Send me Chris Grier's number. I'll call him right now. And every noodle's got it right. They got a proven guy in that safety room right now. And Melifonwu is proven, but he just can't stay healthy. But now you got a guy who can stay healthy, and he's proven. Added to that. Now we just need one more proven guy added. Or two. Because, I mean, would any of us be mad if they doubled up on Rasul Douglas and Asante Samuel Jr.? Let's go. Let's go. I'm down. And, I mean, like I said earlier, making that jump, and you got it right here. Making that jump. Javon Holland left both of his knees in MetLife Stadium 2 years ago. Never been the same. Right? Never been the same since that game. Minkah Fitzpatrick is an upgrade no matter what you want to spin on Minkah. That's just where we're at right now. That's just Minkah Fitzpatrick is an upgrade no matter what you want to try to say to me. And him and Melifonwu, if Melifonwu stays healthy, man, and listen, you guys know where I'm at. Never trust PFF. I'm not a PFF fan by any stretch of the imagination, right? I don't take their grades, at all to heart, right? At all do I take their grades to heart. But, you're talking about a guy who's posted some, really high grades since he was traded to Pittsburgh, right? Like, really high grades. I mean, his run defense every year except last year has been in the 80s. Every year. Except last year in 2020, he's been in the 80s since he's been there. So 4 out of 6 years has been the 80s. You got a guy who's managed to have he's worked on his missed tackle rate every year. It's gotten lower than what it was in his first 4 years in the league. Right? So, I'm going to love seeing, and you got a guy who can play up on the perch, right? You can play in a split on the perch too. And he can play down in the box and lay a little bit of a hammer for you. I mean, we already know what Mink is. We drafted the kid. We know what time it is. So, listen, I think at this stage of his career, Mink is better than Jalen Ramsey. Especially if you're going to stick Jalen Ramsey to the boundary. Mink is the better player right now. Now, like I said, I think Jalen Ramsey can be an all-pro if he shifts to safety. 110%. I've said that all last year when he was here. So, I'm not going to change my tune just because he got traded to a different team. I'm not going to change my tune. So I still think Jalen Ramsey, if he moves to safety, has a lot of good football ahead of him. But right now, if you're sticking Jalen on the boundary and you're putting Minkah up on that perch, Minkah's the better player right now. So I like that, I like that safety room. It's shaping out really well. It's shaping up really well. And I know a lot of people were nervous, including myself, because these guys just couldn't stay healthy. But now, we're good, man. We are good. So, listen, I'm going to tell you this one thing. When I thought it was just Minkah straight up for Jalen, I'm like, oh my God, we fleeced them. I was like, oh my God, we fleeced them. But, I'll take this. Let's go. Let's go. This is a decent return for a guy we weren't going to pay and a guy who didn't want to be here anymore. There's no other way around it. All right? Like, there's just no other way around it. So, diving deeper here, this is what Barry Jackson had to say about the trade. The Dolphins traded two of their best 2024 performers on Monday in a blockbuster deal that returns former Dolphins first-round pick Minkah Fitzpatrick to Miami. Miami dealt disgruntled former All-Pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey to Pittsburgh on Monday, parting ways with one of their most accomplished players just 9 months after giving him a lucrative contract extension. Miami also sent Pittsburgh tight end Jonnu Smith in a 2027 7th-round pick. The Steelers gave Smith a contract extension worth as much as $12 million for a season. Miami declined to give him an extension that would have paid him significantly more than the $4.8 he is due to earn this season. In return, Miami received its 2019 first-round pick back. That is former Pro Bowl safety Minkah Fitzpatrick, as well as a 2027 fifth-round pick. As part of the trade, Ramsey will get a $1.5 million raise this season, increasing his salary to $26.6 million. He announced the trade on social media. Fitzpatrick gives the Dolphins a frontline safety to replace Giants-bound Jevon Holland. And that's the key, man. No matter how you slice this, this is an upgrade over Jevon Holland. So, here you think. Fitzpatrick is due right here. $15.5 million this season, $17.6 million next season in the final year of his deal. But none of that 2026 salary is guaranteed. And that's where new money might come into this situation, right? So, listen, I'm not mad at this at all. I'm not mad at this at any stretch of the imagination. I think this is good, man. This is good. Now, it says the Dolphins will carry a $16.5 million dead cap hit for Smith in 2025. Listen, if Ramsey hadn't been traded, his cap hit this season would have been about $16.7 million. Instead, his 2025 dead money cap hit on the Dolphins books will be about $6.7 million. That money can be carried over to next offseason if the Dolphins don't use it all this season. So the Dolphins, they got about $24 million in cap space. So, I mean, according to this, right? Like, it's just, listen, not only was there tension between McDaniel and Jalen Ramsey, but I mean, they saw what we saw. He didn't look like the same player. That's just the fact of the matter. He did not look like the same player anymore. And so they were okay with moving on. I mean, what else are you going to do? Right? Like, that's just where they're at. They were good with moving on. And now the Dolphins, they've created some cap space where they can start making some moves. Trading away Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey, that creates about $14 million in cap space. So now their cap space is about 27.7. Minkah is going to eat about 14 million of that cap space. So Miami, they should still be about $13.7 million under the cap. Now, if they go ahead and let's say they extend Minkah, that's how they give him new money, well, that is going to create even more cap space for them. So this is the Dolphins send out $25.2 million of salary cap in this trade, and they bring back about $15.5 million. So they free up cap, and they get rid of the messy situation with Ramsey. And you got a starter in Minkah, and they got another draft pick. I mean, that's a W, I mean, I don't know how you can be mad at that right now. I really don't know how you can be mad at this move right now. They're making it happen. Again, the issue is Jonnu wanted a 200% raise clearly, and Jalen Ramsey didn't want to be here anymore. And yeah, I love Jonnu Smith. I wanted us to keep Jonnu Smith. Part of me is mad. Well, I don't want to say mad, but sad that we're not going to have that production from Jonnu Smith, especially if things go sideways with Tyreek. But you got to give a little to get a little. And let's be honest here. They go add Rasul Douglas and or Asante Samuel. Is anyone really going to be mad? Hell, if they do that and then go add Michael Mayer, I bet a bunch of you are going to be doing cartwheels and backflips. And, to Topher's point in the chat right now, do we need Jonnu? We had a top 3 offense in 2022 and 2023, like he so elegantly pointed out. Right? And, I agree with Tony in the chat. The Dolphins said no more crybabies. We want toughness and loyalty. Now, usually loyalty comes with money. Right? Clearly. But, man, I think this is a positive. This is a step in the right direction for the Miami Dolphins right now. Like, let's go. Minkah Fitzpatrick back in Miami. You've added a stud, right, that you drafted. And let's be honest, they didn't want to trade him back then. They didn't want to get rid of this guy. And now you get to bring him back into the fold. And again, we've talked about this. Any way you slice it, any way Pittsburgh Steelers fans want to cope with losing Minkah, that's fine for them. For us, this is an upgrade over Javon Holland. Period. Talking about a 3-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler. Javon Holland never been an All-Pro. In 2022, Minkah Fitzpatrick led the NFL in interceptions. He was a winner at Alabama, and he's been fantastic as a pro. Now, last year was probably his only down year as a Steeler. But even still, did that take him out of the top 10 safeties in the league? No. And you are giving another piece to Anthony Weaver. We saw what Anthony Weaver did with Kyle Hamilton. What do you think he's going to do with a guy like Minkah? Huh? Now, that should get you excited. Go look at what Anthony Weaver did with Kyle Hamilton. And now he's got, quite frankly, a guy who's, either on the same level or a bit better. So I love it, man. And again, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Dante Trader, who you just drafted, Ashton Davis, and then Patrick McMorris, who we loved last year before he got hurt. All of a sudden, this safety room is pretty freaking solid, man. And if they all stay healthy, and I think we're going to see a new level to Minkah under Weaver. I really, really think you are going to see a new level for him. And the usage you are going to see. They're going to disguise stuff with Minkah. You're going to see a lot different post-snap looks than what it's looking like pre-snap once that ball gets hiked. I mean, Minkah is going to be able to thrive in the box or up on the perch in either a single or a split. I mean, you are going to see him used as a chess piece. And I think Minkah, especially because, like I said, Javon Holland left his knees in MetLife 2 years ago. Minkah offers you a lot more versatility up there, too. You can do a lot more with Minkah right now than you can with Javon Holland. So, man, I'm excited to see what Anthony Weaver is going to do with Minkah Fitzpatrick. I really, really am. Really am. So, again, being able to get him in a fifth for a player who ended up getting a 200% raise and another player who didn't want to be here, how can you not call that a W? You got a 3-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler. That's a dub. That is a dub and a half. And I know the Jonnu part is what's going to hurt people a little bit. But again, look at the money he got, guys and gals. We aren't giving that up. Right? We aren't paying a tight end $12 million when we're paying almost $60 million between Jalen, Waddle, and of course Tyreek Hill. It's not happening. Just not. Man, Minkah Fitzpatrick is back, baby. Who would have thought? How many of you fell out of your seat when you saw that come through, eh? How many of you fell out of your seat and were like, what the? Huh? You guys, oh my God. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Now, again, diving a little bit deeper onto Javon Holland and Minkah a little bit here. Right? I mean, you look at Javon Holland and, Minkah's going to be having to take some more reps. He's going to be taking, and he's perfect, right? Like, because not only can he play on that perch, not only can he play down that box, but he can come out of that slot, right? And that's ideal, right? Because we even had Javon Holland, right? Javon Holland, he had the most slot snaps of his career last year under Weaver, right? And you might see a bump in Minkah's slot usage too. Because Minkah, the most slot snaps he played was in 2023, I believe. And you could probably see him getting back to around that 150 mark. Whereas last year, he's at like 104, 105. So, again, the versatility. I mean, you look at the athlete, Minkah. I mean, man, How can you not be happy, especially with, it's all right, we are going to get weak at one position, but all right, let's make up for it. Let's upgrade that safety room. And they're turning it into, quite frankly, they're turning it into a strength. I mean, let's be real here. If you are able to add now, I don't know, I'm just saying legitimate, but if you're able to add a legitimate corner to that room, like let's say they can pull off a trade, right? All of a sudden, like let's say they traded for Jalen Watson, who I wanted. All of a sudden, man, that secondary is really good. Now, I do think, and I've been saying this, I think they're going to lean on Cade or Kohu a lot this season on the boundary. I think that's going to happen, 110%. But, again, you didn't take much of a dip in getting the athlete either, right? Remember, Jevon Holland ran a 4.47 40. When you look at Minkah, he ran a 4.46. When you look at Jevon Holland, he ran a 2.61 20-yard split, 2.58 for Minkah. Minkah ran a 1.52 10-yard split. Jevon Holland ran a 1.55. But where they differentiate is it looks like Jevon Holland's lost a little bit of that. Again, going back to the MetLife. Now, Jevon Holland's still a playmaker. I have a special place in my heart for Jevon Holland because that was a draft pick I got. We drafted him in April. I was talking about him a year before that, right? When I was watching Justin Herbert film, Jevon Holland was a guy I was falling in love with, as well as Penei Sewell over there, right? And so I'll always have a special place, and he's a fellow Canadian with Jevon Holland, so I'll always have a special place for Jevon Holland. But the fact of the matter is, this is an upgrade. I don't know how you can be mad at it. I don't know how anyone can, again, say Jalen, same situation, didn't want to be here, didn't want to coach. But Jonnu wanted to be here. And let's say Jonnu was willing to take that $8 or $9 million. Okay, I could see you being upset a little bit. I would understand it a little bit more. But the fact that the guy got a 200% raise tells you everything you need to know. We weren't handing that out. We weren't. They love Julian Hill for whatever reason that is. You'd probably want to see what you got in Hayden Rucci because he flashed a little bit. It just didn't make any sense if you were going to go with the guys you got in the tight end room and with the 11 personnel usage that we've heard they want to increase. So, listen, and it's a little bit of an Alabama reunion, right? Minkah's a good buddy of Waddle and Tua. So there you go. And you know what? I think Minkah's going to be a lot happier in this regime. Now, Tyreek Hill and his conversation with Jalen Ramsey obviously didn't go well. And the other interesting thing here is, what's interesting here is the Miami Dolphins. Man, look at the captains they've got rid of. And guys, I don't think we're done. I don't think we're done by any stretch of the imagination. All right? And you want to know how? Check this out. This was tweeted 1 minute ago by Tom Pelissero. So check this out. The Dolphins are now in conversations with multiple teams about acquiring a tight end after sending Jonnu Smith to Pittsburgh. Are you Michael Mayer, anyone? Huh? Michael Mayer, anyone? Like, there you go. The Miami Dolphins are now looking to acquire a tight end. Are they going to turn around and flip that 5th round pick? Is that what they're going to do? Are they going to turn around and flip that 5th round pick? I don't think it's, listen, I know people, I don't think it's going to be Kyle Pitts, guys. I don't think it's going to be Kyle Pitts. I honestly don't. Kyle Pitts needs new money. Kyle Pitts, after this year, needs new money. They're like, and I've told you guys, listen, Atlanta, go look at Atlanta. They run a ton. I did a whole video on this. They run so much 11 personnel, and that is why they're phasing Kyle Pitts out. That's the problem. Michael Mayer, for what this team wants to do, Michael Mayer makes a ton more sense. I've told you guys this. Michael Mayer just makes a lot more sense from a, because look at, when they were run blocking in 11 personnel, they were bringing in Charlie Warner. That's where like Charlie Warner got all of his reps. They're not going to go get George Kittle. George Kittle just got new money from San Francisco. Now, this is a good one. I like what DC Monroe is on right here. The Ravens want to elevate Isaiah Likely. I would go bring in that would make sense. Sir, Michael Mayer is available. They drafted, Brock Bowers is the dude there. I think, well, dude, they're not trading for Ruggs, brother. Ruggs not even reinstated right now. They're like, that's not happening. Yet the Dolphins do play the Steelers. Now, could the Miami Dolphins shock us all and actually try and pull a move for Isaiah Likely? Is Isaiah Likely the one that they could maybe go? Now, I would think Baltimore would want to see. I would think Baltimore wants to see Isaiah Likely through from what they got, that little sample size with Mark Andrews out. Yeah, I'll give you a shout, Bobby. I got you. By the way, quick plug. Go check out the Dive Bar. They're going to have Malik Washington on Tuesday night. All right, so go check them out. All right. But anyways, what I'm saying right now is this. Michael Mayer, I'm all in if his mental health is in the right place. You want to go get me Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely? Perfect. But I don't think they're going to want to trade Isaiah Likely. I think it'd be easier. I know it sounds shocking. It'd probably be easier to get Mark Andrews. I don't think you're going to be able to pry Isaiah Likely away from them. I don't. That kid's got a ton of upside. We all saw how he performed when it was bye-bye Mark Andrews for a little bit there. I do not think they are going to be able to land Isaiah Likely. I don't. Now, Mark Andrews, let's go. Let's go. I'd be down for that. For where he's at right now, if he can stay healthy, let's go. I'm down. Right? And again, he's only 29 still. So it's not like he's like 32, right? And now, with his money, though, Mark Andrews right now, that's where it gets a little, because he's got a cap hit. He's got a $16.9 million cap number for 2025. But he needs new money after that. He has no guaranteed money on that, and he is a free agent after 2025. So, you know, I think the best way would, if his mental state is good enough, listen, and you know what's crazy? You know what, like, if you look at, like, I'll bring this up for you guys here, right? You know, because we want a guy who can block, obviously, right? Now, if you go look at Mark Andrews here, and I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, right? If you look at Mark Andrews, I mean, last year, in the first 5 weeks of that season, he was one of the best blocking tight ends, but Isaiah Likely was a really great blocker too. So they got two guys who are really capable of blocking over there. I don't think Isaiah Likely is realistic by any. I just don't. I don't think he's realistic. I think they want to keep that and see that through, right? You know, let's be real here. You know, but as a run blocker, man, those first 6 weeks for Mark Andrews were really, really good. Now, he started to dip after that. And actually, the last 2 years, his run block rate has been down compared to the years before that. But Mark Andrews has been a pretty solid run blocker. And the whole thing is, you want to disguise what you're doing, right? AWOL says it feels like Mark Andrews is 34. Well, I mean, you know, that's what injuries will do, right? But listen, give it to me, baby. I want, you know, I would love Minkah Fitzpatrick to be paired with another tight end. So really, I mean, you could turn this into, because if you can flip that fifth, you could turn this into a seventh, Ramsey and Jonnu. Okay, look at it this way. Let's say you flip that fifth for Mark Andrews. Would you all be happy with Jalen and Jonnu in a seventh for Minkah and Mark Andrews? I feel like that would be kind of a, you know, I feel like that would kind of be a W. No? I mean, we're going to find out. We're going to figure it out, what's going on. But, man, what a day. And it, like Tom Pelissero said, it could only get wilder from here with the Miami Dolphins potentially acquiring a tight end. Like, let's go. Go get me Michael Mayer. That's the one. If Michael Mayer's if his mental health is good, let's go. That's where I'm going for. You know, low cap hit, right? Like, you know, still on his rookie deal, basically. Not a lot of tread on his tires, obviously. That's where I'm going. You know, one of the best Notre Dame tight ends of all time. He's locked in till after 2026, right? He's only making about $2.5 million this year and $2.9 million in 2026. Listen, let's go. Let's go. And they can trade him post June 1st, right? The Raiders would save about $1.6 million if they traded him post June 1st, which we're into right now. So I'm kind of on board with Michael Mayer. That's where I'm at. No, grow together. The Dolphins did not trade for Mark Andrews. What we're talking about here is Tom Pelissero, and I just showed it a few minutes ago. Tom Pelissero put out a tweet minutes ago, to be exact, about 12 minutes ago, saying the Dolphins are now in conversation with multiple teams about acquiring a tight end after sending Jonnu Smith to Pittsburgh, per sources. So we could be in for an even wilder week. Rocket says we're rolling with Julian Hill. Watch. Why you got to do that to us, brother? Why you got to kill the energy, all right? Julian Hill, the drive killer, king of flags. Man, I love it. So, I mean, Ramsey gone, Jonnu Smith gone. And what a big return for the Miami Dolphins. Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. And now the Miami Dolphins are scouring the tight end market. My friends, let me ask you this. Would you rather be hearing them scouring the tight end market or the cornerback market? Because, you know, part of me is wishing that update from Tom Pelissero was like, yeah, now they're looking to flip that fifth and go get a corner. But hey, I'll take a tight end too. But this also tells you, if they are looking for another tight end, are they as sold on Julian Hill as the media has tried to lead us to believe? You got to ask that yourself that. That's a good sign. If they are actually looking, then they're seeing what we're seeing, that you can't just rely on Julian Hill and Pharaoh Brown, even if you do want to run a bunch of 11 personnel. Shout out to Frank Perez. Welcome to the Pro Bowl. D. Hugga says, are we going to get Michael Mayer from Las Vegas? Man, we're talking about it. We're praying for it, brother. Nick Westbrook-Ikine as a Jonnu replacement at slot. Yep, 110%. You know, and then go get a guy that can play inline at tight end. I can't believe Minkah is back full circle. Man, listen, I think a lot of us, if this would have been a 1-for-1 trade, Jalen for Minkah, we'd be talking about we fleeced them. Because Jonnu was included in it, there's going to be a lot of people on both sides thinking we won the trade or we lost the trade. I'm expecting to see a lot of split. The stance I'm taking from it is this. All right? This is the stance I'm taking. Ramsey didn't want to be here, and Jonnu Smith got a 200% raise that we were not going to give him. So you were going to have two disgruntled players on your hands. And you brought back a top 10 safety in return. So, you know, I can't sit here and, you know, totally crap on this trade or even say it we lost. You got rid of a guy who got a 200% pay raise that he wasn't going to get here and a guy who didn't want to be here. End of story. Like that's just where we're at. And you brought back a guy that A, you drafted, and B, it is what it is. Now, Raheem Mostert is taking a little bit of a shot at the Miami Dolphins. He's clearly not very happy with the franchise ever since, you know, he kind of got phased out for Achan and company. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see his tweet, feelings were clearly hurt on his way out. And this is what he said. He said this: hot take, be a Pro Bowler on the Dolphins and get treated like shit. Happy for my guys, though. Go ball out. So, yeah. Man, we took care, like, McDaniel took care of you. Like, I'm not going to sit here and defend McDaniel all day, but, man, he took care of you, Raheem. Like, bro, they drafted Achan. What did you expect them to do? Like, did you think they were going to, they were not going to phase you out for him? Now, what's crazy, too, is look at this. Look at all of the leaders. Jalen Ramsey, Teron Armstead, Calais Campbell, and David Long Jr. 4 of our captains heading into the season last year are no longer here. So, listen, we got cap space still, right? We got about 14-ish million is where we should be around right now. After trading Jonnu and Jalen, which created about 14 million in cap space. And then, you look at Minkah coming back, that's another 14 coming back. So you kind of evened it out, really, if you think about it, right? Like the Dolphins sent out like 25.2 million in salary in the cap, and they brought back 15.5 when you aren't looking at like just real money and overall money. So I just, hey, I'm taking this. And now you want to go add a corner? You want to go add another tight end? You got the money, baby. You got the money. Guys, smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. We might not be done. Over 915 of you in the chat. This team might not be done, baby. As Tom Pelissero reported just about 20 minutes ago, they are now talking to teams about acquiring a tight end. So anything breaks, we'll have it for you. But until next time, and until tomorrow, you already know what time it is. If it's breaking, we'll be right back here. If not, I'll see you on the next one. Until then, fins up all day, every day. The Miami Dolphins acquire Minkah Fitzpatrick and a 5th-round pick for Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, and a 7th-round pick. The Miami Dolphins still have quite a bit of cap space to play with. So let's see what we got. Let's see what's on the horizon. I'll see y'all in the next one. Fins up, baby.